Hello, welcome to another video by me, Mark from DadX, and I did mention recently a little 1/16 Chinese manufactured RC adventure, and here it is. Now these bad boys are lovely. I am very impressed. All four of them probably combined cost me about 160 quid, which I was going to spend on one 1/10 scale kit, and I discovered these on YouTube and I'm very amazed by them as models and as RC kits, cars, because they're not all kits. They are really impressive. This here is a WPL C24 Toyota Hilux. That came as a kit. That's exactly as it comes out of the box. We'll have a little look at it in detail in a moment. This is a Fei army truck. It comes with a webcam that fits on the top, which I'll show you, which does allow you to control it through the webcam. These two are 4x4. This one over here, we got a 6x6 truck. It kind of looks like the Studebakers that the Americans supplied to Russia by the hundreds and thousands during the Second World War. A little bit let down by the Tampo printing on there. I think it's a little bit naff, but these are all going to be modelled apart from this one, which is going to say stock. Now these three here, I live out in the countryside, and these remind me of some of the people around here. You can tell they're all related, but you can't quite tell how, and nobody likes to talk about it. But from what I've figured out, WPL seems to have been the company that kind of went with this technology and this thing first. And other companies are basically making the same kits using what looks like the same molds with some variations, which we shall talk about in a moment. But basically, these three trucks here can all be seen to be based on WPL products. This one over here, however, the Land Rover, and I'm British, as you may have noticed, and if you're going to do anything to do with off-road vehicles in Britain, you have to by law involve a Land Rover in it, or the Queen gets very upset. This is an MN Models MN96 Land Rover kit. It's kind of a very militarized model. It comes with all kinds of bits and pieces, such as the spades, a man, the worst painted action figure I've seen since the 1980s, but we're not too worried about him at all. This one's going to get very demilitarized, I think. It's also a different scale. These are 1/16. This says it's 1/12, but I'm going to say probably somewhere between that and 1/16. The wheelbase and the chassis are very similar dimension-wise to the WPL, but the technology for this kit is completely independent, whereas these ones are family members. Let's have a look at them in detail. Right, we've got all four of them here just as a size comparison. Obviously, this is a 6x6 truck. You'd expect it to be longer. These two have exactly the same wheelbase. This truck here is slightly longer. This one here is obviously very different. The other differences between these vehicles are these two are made as 4-link suspension equipped crawler trucks. And this is made from the kit. It's all plastic. It works really well, as I'll show you at the end of the video, as a crawler. These are not built for speed. These are built for kind of control and torque, mechanically speaking, really, and this does a magnificent job. There's a reduction gearbox in there. You've got the independent 4-link suspension, lots and lots of movement. As a kit, as a model, this is magnificent. It's as good as a Tamiya, to be quite honest with you. The only thing that's at all wrong with it is that the bumper hasn't had the full chrome paint applied to it. That is the only issue I could have with this kit, and I'm not going to have it as an issue because that just makes it mine as far as I'm concerned. Now I'm going to get better at the camera work, so do bear with me. The decals are the ones that you put on and then peel off the front sheet, just like the kind that you put on your big car. Very high quality, very good, very clear. I might not have put that one on right in the middle. This is detachable, battery case right in there. I'll show you each one of these vehicles in its own little video, should there be enough feedback on this one to think that might be worth my time. All these bits are put on by you as you're making it. You can style it, you can paint it. This one for me is staying absolutely stock. I'll explain why later. This chap here, the Fei, Again, great model, great interior, as this one has. Sorry, the Toyota I didn't show you, but they've got fully modelled interiors with dashboards, etc. You probably can't see very well because of the lighting, but when we have a look at the vehicle in detail, I'll sort that out. This one has a leaf spring suspension, still has lots of travel, got slightly harder tyres than the kit one of the C24. Very similar drivetrain. As I say, the technology, WPL make a B1 truck, which is basically this with different electronics in it. This one obviously has the camera control, the camera slot's right in here. The camera, let me just grab it, is right there. Now, I did run this under Dexter's car and I snapped the camera off. That's completely on me and it's very easily fixable. That slot's right in there. And as I say, you can control it for a reasonable range. We'll have a look at that when it's out having a bit of a run. And you can record from the camera too for a bit of a first person view stuff if you want some of that. The detail again on this truck is great. As good as you'd get off a kit that costs just more than this just for the kit. I can find no issues with it whatsoever. It was all put together beautifully. It runs very well. It has quite a big motor in it. I think this is a 180 size motor in this one. The same as we get in the WPL C24. And although this has non-proportional steering, because these ones were built, ready to run, these two in the middle, they have non-proportional steering. It's either left or right. But this has such well-sprung and powerful non-proportional steering. With a little bit of patience, you can get quite precise with it, as we'll see when we're running it out on our trailer trash test track. It's basically a trailer covered in bits of junk we found in the garden, which is the little test course we've created. And yeah, this one, I've just been gagging to get my hands on this one and start messing with it. I'm going to shorten the front end. I'm going to take this off, maybe make it a custom bed. I don't know. Now this guy here, the 6x6 truck, this is a JJRC Q60, also known as Transporter 1, I believe. Again, leaf spring suspension. This one has differentials, which is great for on the road and it's great for going fast. It's a disadvantage over these when you're actually off-road, because obviously a differential will put all the power out through a wheel that has no traction, which really does hamper this. Now we can do what you used to do with the Tamiya gearboxes and gunk them up with really heavyweight oil, which will stop them being so loose. Or maybe we can just leave it as it is. This has much stiffer suspension than the other two and harder tyres. It's basically more of a road truck as it is. But again, everything here can be modified. All these bits can be switched around. There are loads of aftermarket parts and ingeniously made bits. Or when it comes to the model inside, you can just make it up as you go along. And last but by no means least, we have the MN Models MN96 Land Rover. Now, it's very, I don't quite like the look of it. What I really like about this model, before we talk about what's underneath, is the open interior, which I can really mess with and scruffy up and make lived in. The roll cage is going to get some of the militarized sections removed probably, and I'm going to rebuild it in a more nice way. I don't know, not nice, yeah, way I prefer, that's all I mean. We do get lots of bits and pieces, fire extinguishers, shovels, a jack. We also get a PUBG, can you see that? A PUBG backpack, some guns which we don't really need. What we got here? AK-74 and Mauser. Probably don't really need those, or the RPG, but the frying pan will no doubt come in very, very handy indeed. Anyway, enough of that. Underneath, oh, there goes the battery. I haven't even talked about those yet. Underneath, this is completely like independent chassis design. Obviously, a 4-link suspension is a 4-link suspension, but this has more squared off beams compared to the WPL's rounded arms, link arms. This comes with a 260 motor, so a bigger, more torquey motor supposedly than the WPL or any of these other trucks. The tyres are the softest of the bunch and they really need to be glued on. They're so soft they pop off. These unusually have a bigger rim on the inside than the outside. I don't know if it's just so they squish in a nice looking way, so you get more of the crush on the outside than the inside. But it looks pretty cool anyway. It comes with a spare wheel, but it's actually exactly the same kind of tyre. It's not like a fake toy one. Anyway, yeah, so that's the MN96. That comes ready to run, but that does come fully proportional. It's got proportional steering, proportional throttle. This has proportional throttle, but non-proportional steering. This has non-proportional throttle and non-proportional steering out the box, but it does have 2 speed settings. This is much more built for speed, sort of RPM than torque. We'll see when we take it out for a little bit of a run what it can do and what it can't do. The 3 that came ready to run all obviously come with batteries. We've got a NiCad 700 milliamp fits under the bonnet of the Faye. We've got a 700 milliamp NiCad that fits under the bonnet of the JJRC, which I've stuck the connector just to hook the bonnet open. And the MN models comes with a lithium ion battery and a charger. It comes with a USB charger which can be trusted. I have tested it. I've got my flame-proof bag and everything here. I've got a proper charger too, but the USB that comes with it charges it through the balancing port here. You don't even need to connect up this one if you use the USB charger. These two come with USB chargers as well, but I've just been sticking them on the big charger, to be honest. So I think we've covered everything just as an overview of the 3 of them. Lights wise, this kit comes with lights, but I haven't fitted them yet because the speed controller I've got in there won't do them anyway. I'll figure something out with that one. This one has lights that are on the whole time the truck is switched on, as does this one. This one disappointingly has lights that only come on when you're accelerating, which makes it from that aspect look a bit toy. But apart from that, it's very, very good performance wise. Now over here on the shelf we have a couple more boxes. Now the top box, I'll show you it in another video, but I'll show you a picture of what it is. And that is a WPL Models CM44KM. It's a metal version of the kit. All the parts are metal. It's a Toyota Land Cruiser pickup. The parts all come to these kits in these incredibly tough individually packed bags with the WPL logo on it. I'm just going to get the body out just so you can see the kind of shape that I mean. No, you can't really tell. I'll show you. You've seen the picture. If there's enough interest in what's going on here, I'll actually build that in a video along with another C24, because we're going to keep one absolutely stock and one to mess with. So again, I could build that in a video. Just let me know if you're interested. There's the gang for now. There is another one ordered, a WPL version ish of this truck. I just wanted it really as a comparison and to nick some bits off of. As I say, these are all going to really evolve. Apart from this chap here, he's going to be our control truck. In terms of this being a kit and the others all being ready to run, I've stuck some electronics in there that were just out of an old nitro buggy that we had, in terms of the receiver, which I just took out the box. It fits in there fine for now. And an £8 speed controller I got on eBay. And the build time on the kit was probably about 90 minutes, but it's the first RC kit I've built for about 6 years. So no, it was a really good kit. Everything goes together, everything fits perfectly. You get, I'm going to show you because this is actually quite impressive in itself. Try not to knock all this over. A bit of a cut there while I was doing that. There's some spare stickers. This is how many spare screws and bits and bobs the kit comes with. I didn't use this grease. I've got my own grease I always put in my gearboxes. But it comes with enough spares for me to just play around with. We've got one spare upper link, one spare lower link. This is some of the lighting kit, the wiring you can see there. We'll get that done one day. Overall, I'm really impressed with this as a kit and its performance, and these guys for what they cost. So we're looking at between, this was £30 for the kit. These two were about 35. This one was 40. The shipping costs can vary a little bit. I got a little bit stung on the shipping for that one. I ended up paying about 10 I think, or 11 quid. But just be careful where you're looking around. There's some links below. I've got most of these from Banggood. In fact, all of these are from Banggood. And they got here very quickly. The second C24 was from Wish, and it took twice as long to get here. But that's the first time I've ever used them, so I won't be too judgmental. But anyway, now that I've filmed them in their natural states, I can crack on with messing with them because they've just been sitting there talking to me. I've been making models for over 40 years and RC for about 30, on and off, not constantly. Had to raise children along the way and all that kind of malarkey, and I'm really up for this. This is going to be fun. And last, but of course by no means least, how does this tie in with SnowRunner? Well, for those of you that know SnowRunner, I think we have got here in the C24 our starter scout, stout and reliable. Over here we have a truck that can carry quite a nice load, but is built more for the road as it is than for the dirty stuff. That sounds rather like a GMC. Over here we have another essentially scout vehicle. It's bigger, it's boxier, it's bouncier, and it's very kind of top heavy, or it feels top heavy, and that sounds to me exactly like a Scout 800. This chap here, he's obviously not full size as a lorry. He is going to be inspired for now by our magnificent Fleet Star, which, as you know, I will happily use for scouting on a map as much as possible. He's going to become a kind of trucky scout hybrid for now, while he's 4x4. I have ordered a 6x6 version of this truck from WPL, a B16 that's called. So we will have the option and the build availability of the full-size truck later in the day. And there is one other truck. I'm going to show you pictures of the WLP truck and the truck in the game. Well, that speaks for itself, doesn't it? So we've got one of those on the way. And the finish on these military trucks is nice, and I like the fact it's nice and matte. It's going to be quite nice to take paint apart from anything else. But I do like the fact that that one comes in a nice kind of civilian colour scheme, and it's just going to need weathering. I'm going to make loads for them. We're going to muck about in the back garden making little challenges and courses for them and something, I don't know. It's all just for lols. So anyway, that's it. We'll see. We'll be back soon. We'll probably look at the fade a little bit of detail first, because it's the one I need to get the Dremel on and start chopping up. And it keeps screaming at me to do so. But for now, guys, I'll just leave it there. How many more videos I make on this sort of thing, it just depends on your feedback and your involvement. I'm here for your engagement, not for the fame and the fortune. That probably makes itself abundantly clear. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know if you have, with a like or a comment or a whatever. Any advice you want to give me. Forgive me if I've got anything a bit wrong. I'm an absolute noob at this. And at the same time, I must give a shout out. YouTube is magnificent. I got all of my kind of yearning to give this a go from YouTube and seeing them on there. A couple of channels in particular. There's David at Run That RC. And there's a guy, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but I'm call you Mr. Tomley at Tomley RC. He's on this side of the pond. Both of which, there's links to their channels. They both do other stuff too. David's just started doing some 3D printing. Mr. Tomley does all kinds of RC. There's lots of information there. I'm going to give him a little shout out as my little bit of inspiration and confirmation that this was going to be worth a little bit of my time. But for now, from me and the team, take care and goodbye.